What's going on YouTube? This is Destiny Heroic, and I've got a special deck list for you today. This is my extreme format Gold Paladin deck starring the one and only Pellinore. So what I'd like to say about extreme format, just to get this out of the way, is I don't like it very much. I think it promotes some really stupid decks, but it also lets you fiddle with plays and combos that you wouldn't normally have access to in a regular clan fight format. So that was sort of my inspiration in building this deck. So extreme format is all about working with the loopholes in card rulings, or not card rulings, in card text, and exploiting combinations between the cards from different clans that you wouldn't normally have in a clan format. So, like I said, this is Pellinore. The idea is to Pellinore, when you summon him from the deck, when you call him from the deck, you can discard a card, make him the Vanguard, and then he stands. And basically, that's the important thing. You get an additional Vanguard attack. It's not something that Gold Paladin really has access to outside of Spectral Duke Dragon, but even Spectral Duke loses his Twin Drive when he stands up. So this is really nice in especially in a Stride format and in the advanced format that we're in. So for grade 3s, I'm using 3 copies of Pellinore. This is a fully Stride implemented deck. So basically, if you draw into your Pellinores, I'm running 3 because that's a good number to, because the idea is to summon them from the deck, and if you draw into them, they're not very useful. So if you do draw into them, you can just discard it for a G unit to Stride. Outside of that, there's generally going to be, at any given time, there's going to be 2 or even just 1 in the deck for you to use your combos with. And my sort of main grade 3 outside of Pellinore is Mursame Liberator Coil. And back to what I said about exploiting card text. This guy has a call ability, calls 2 cards out of the top 4 from the top of the deck, but the card text says card, so it doesn't matter what clan you hit. There are multiple clans in this deck, obviously, which is why it's extreme format. But he can call a Pellinore. You wouldn't really want to, but he can call something in my grade 2 section, which I'll get to in a minute. So this is basically what you want to do. You want to Legion. Every time you want to pull off a Pellinore play, it has to be on the turn you Legion. And so outside of Pellinore, every grade 3 is a Legion leader. This is a 5th Legion card, Asclepius. He doesn't really do, he's not really in there for his effect, but he's in there just as an extra Legion card. You could use some of the other Liberator Legions, but the problem is that when they do their search effects from the top of the deck, you have to grab a Liberator. And that's not always ideal in this deck, because Pellinore is not a Liberator, and a lot of the other cards aren't either. So moving into the grade 2, this is kind of the linchpin of our combo, is 4 copies of Frozen Ogle. After he attacks the Vanguard, during the turn you Legion, you can put him in Soul and call out a card from your deck. That's what he says. He says a card. So you'll obviously want to call out a Pellinore and the discard and make it the Vanguard so you can attack again. And then if you've got 2 of them out on the same turn, even if your Vanguard is not presently in a Legion state, if it's the turn that you conducted your Legion effect, then you can use a second one and call another Pellinore and attack again. So that's why he's in there. This guy should probably go in just about every extreme format deck, because he's that good. And then the rest of the grade 2s are the Legion Mate for Coil, the Legion Mate for Asclepius. They're pretty good on their own, but again, they're not really in it. We're not really in it for their effects. And then I'm running 2 copies of Citation Liberator Heli. If he hits the Vanguard, put him in Soul, look at the top 3 cards, and then call a card. So he's another example of exploiting card text where he says call a card instead of a Liberator or Gold Paladin. So that's grade 2s. Into grade 1s, I'm using 2 copies of Josephus, mostly because there aren't a lot of good grade 1s to run in a deck like this. I do have a lot of Liberators that wind up in Soul, and calling him off of an effect to get a draw is really nice. And he's also a 7k, so if you ride him as your grade 1, you're not stuck with like a 5k or a 6k that can be attacked over by a lot of things. And speaking of which, 3 copies of Dindrain. Dindrain is in here because it has a generic Soul Blast skill. You don't have to Soul Blast a Gold Paladin when you call it. So that's really the only reason. You're doing a lot of Soul Blasting in this deck because between the repeated Legioning and the Pellinore effect and the Frozen Ogre, you're going to wind up with pretty big Soul for Gold Paladin. So with that being said, we're using a lot of the Soul Blast 2 cards. Silverfang Witch is Soul Blast 2. Again, it's a generic Soul Blast. You don't need to Soul Blast a Liberator or anything like that. So you Soul Blast 2, draw a card, and then Malagant is Soul Blast 2 and Unflip 2 damage. You do use up Counterblast pretty quick in this deck, so it's nice to have that Unflip. And you can even, in a pinch, you can call this off of a Frozen Ogre effect if you need to set up for the next turn. Like if they hit 2 triggers and your Pellinore is never going to hit them anyway, there's no point in calling it out. So you unflip the damage and set it up for the next turn. And finally, for grade 1s, just the 4 Null Guards. It's pretty standard. Triggers are pretty generic. We've got 8 Gold Paladin crits. Everything's Gold Paladin. Everything's Liberator for that matter. 4 draws and 4 heals. Pretty standard. You don't really need, because you're on your Pellinore turns, you're going to be drive checking a whole bunch. You don't really need to run extra draws. You do want some draws because you do need to discard to activate Pellinore and you need to commit the field. So you do want to have some presence after committing the field. So that's why a standard trigger lineup is good. For our starter, we use Spring Breeze Messenger. This is the only card in the deck that specifically requires a Gold Paladin to be called. What I found is this is really good in conjunction with the Stride units. You can still call a Pellinore off of this effect and have it ride, even if your Vanguard is a Stride unit. But basically, yeah, this is for filling up your soul, accelerating your deck a little bit, and maybe getting off an early Pellinore. That's not always the best thing to do, but it is an option. And so for the extra deck, I'm using 4 just effectless, well, not effectless, but this guy's got an effect, but 4 Cray Elementals, because a lot of your Gold Paladin effects do require you to have a Gold Paladin Vanguard, and where Cray Elementals are from all clans, they can activate their abilities while you're on a Stride unit. Atmos for the extra power, and Harmonics Messiah just because he's easy to put in there and he doesn't use up a counterblast. And for the last set of Stride units, we're using a full set of Ragnarok Dragons. This is good for if your Pellinore play goes off, you reduce their hand, and the following turns you can't set it up again, so you can start swinging with a Ragnarok Dragon play. So he's a Gear Chronicle card, so the rule with triggers is that in order to activate, you have to have a unit on the field that matches the clan. So you'll still be able to activate your Gold Paladin triggers if there's a Gold Paladin somewhere on the board. It doesn't have to be the Vanguard, just it has to be a rear guard, but you can still put the trigger effect onto Ragnarok if you want. So that's the deck. It's not an amazing deck. I just thought it was fun. It was a fun idea to exploit card text that you can only do in the extreme format. So let me know what you think. And yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.